Across the world, governments are asking, can we drill for petroleum in offshore areas and still maintain a healthy marine environment? A common approach in answering that question involves identifying the costs, identifying the benefits, and then deciding whether those benefits outweigh the costs. Since petroleum was discovered in commercial quantities in Belize in June 2005, a number of companies have been granted licenses in the hope that similar success can be replicated, and specific attention is being paid to our territorial waters.
Why? Because the offshore areas of Belize, especially the southern offshore areas, have very good potential for large fields.
According to Director of Geology Andre Cho, the economic benefits of the petroleum industry should encourage everyone to support offshore drilling.
A lot of people don't know, but it's the oil revenues that's keeping the government afloat. Why would we want to leave the petroleum down there if we can produce it and do it responsibly and produce revenues for the government, clean up the debt, and start developing the country at the same time, keep tourism going and fishing. I mean, that's the ultimate state that any country can be in when you harmonize those things. And that's what I like to see. That's what personally I like to see. And that's what I'm working for.
But conservationists argue that protecting the long-term economic benefits of Belize's marine environment outweighs the short-term benefits of exploring for and extracting offshore oil.
At this point in time, there's nothing that would, to me, say, yeah, let's risk all these jobs, let's risk our economy for a little bit of oil money now.
In 2007, the World Resources Institute conducted an extensive economic analysis of Belize's coastal systems. The study estimated that the country's marine environment contributed approximately $1 billion Belize dollars to our economy through the fisheries and tourism industries and via shoreline protection.
For fisheries alone, just the marine capture fisheries, in 2011, it was worth $25 million. And it employs in excess of 4,000 people. So it's our coastal and marine resources are really a mainstay in the national economy when you look at it.
Beverly Wade is Belize's fisheries administrator.
Every development should really be supported by some good rationalization process. And it's in the government's best interest, or any government's best interest, to now look and do your analysis. Something would have to give, but you would have to ensure that you've done that analysis properly to ensure that you're really not cutting off your nose to spite your face, in a sense. The caution that has been thrown out there is warranted, and I do think that as responsible regulatory agencies, we need to take it very seriously.
One of those regulatory agencies, the Department of the Environment, says it is taking possible threats associated with offshore drilling seriously. According to Chief Environmental Officer Martin Alegria, basic monitoring and mitigation measures are up and running. But
we should never be comfortable. We know we can do better. But
this is $1 billion resource.
But not because these plans have not been implemented or initiatives haven't started or strengthened doesn't mean that we haven't been doing something. We have. We know where we want to go. The resources available to properly monitoring and manage in this case you are talking about offshore. Those are the type of things that we'll need to institute. First, develop those mechanisms and institute those before we decide on permitting those types of activities on the marine environment.
And while GOB is developing mechanisms, exploration is going full speed ahead. In fact, Director of Petroleum Andre Cho told us,
we have a lot of other companies exploring, and I believe 4 of them have exploration wells planned this year, 3 in the north and 1 in the south. So we're hoping we make a big onshore discovery, bigger than the Spanish Lookout oil field.
And if that happens, Alegria says,
we have the mechanisms to get the resources to properly monitor.
And if a discovery is made offshore, Alegria says government would simply contract international experts to determine necessary safety measures. But this situation has others deeply concerned.
To me, it's a disaster waiting to happen in one form or the other. You may not have a massive BP style spill, in the process of drilling, but even a barge type disaster that lets loose a container full of oil. In our situation, with no oil spill contingency plan, no funding ready and trained people, booms and enough equipment to really get it to the site at the time it's needed, we don't stand a chance.
Dr. Melanie McPhail is the director of the Healthy Reefs for Healthy People initiative in Belize.
The sea is falling apart. I mean, we have collapse of fisheries, we have major ecosystems going into disrepair. They're not functioning the way they should. If everything was the way it was 200 years ago, the sea could take it, but it's not. And it's the compilation of all the things we're doing, with every bit of human waste and coastal development. I mean, we need that to support some of the tourism industry, but we can't have that plus an oil industry, plus global climate change, plus overfishing. And that's what we're doing. We're just piling it on more and more and more.
Many fears over offshore drilling can be allayed by using standard safety equipment and trained personnel. However, Alegria says,
there are methodologies, technologies, but they are costly. How economic feasibly will it be for us, for the companies to institute those mechanisms, buy those equipment to safeguard the environment based on perhaps the volume speculated to be down there? Those are the issues we'll have to address when we reach that bridge, no?
While Belmopan is ready to proceed with the calculated risks, environmentalists are appealing for a moratorium on offshore drilling until proper protocols are in place.
We have these little guys now that are hoping to get lucky, little companies, taking risks and not having any deep pockets to pay for any mistakes they make. We're going to pay. Our fishing industry is going to pay, and our tourism industry is going to pay.
You will always have a risk once you drill for oil, whether it's on land, offshore, and when you find oil and you're producing it, a pipeline can start leaking and things like that. But you can, like I said, you can have those things once you have the proper laws and proper mitigation measures in place, as well as trained and qualified personnel and enough personnel. So that's what we need to work towards.
If the general public does not demand, let's say, a specific sector to get a more environmentally conscious, it becomes difficult.
The controversies surrounding offshore drilling are inextricably linked to the strong emotions Belizeans feel for the country's marine resources. But even within that context, in answering the question of simultaneously developing new industries and safeguarding our environment, we must carefully weigh the competing benefits of both sides of the argument. Reporting for 7 News, I am Janelle Chanona.